Ribble is taking. And so I'll turn it over to Congressman Ribble, your elected member of Congress.
Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. What an honor for me to be invited by AARP, and thank you for hosting this breakfast. It's a real treat for me to be here with you. I recognize full well that AARP is a nonpartisan group, and I will try to do the very best of my ability that a politician possibly can. I will try to be as nonpartisan as I possibly can be this morning. And I think I can be effective at it because of the approach I'm taking here, and I'll try to do that the very best that I can. It's Easter week, and as a result of that, I have several of my staff who are from Wisconsin but work in my Washington, D.C. office. We're home over the Easter holiday, and some of them are here. I'd like to introduce them to you. Way in the back of the room is Kyle Roscom. Kyle's from Green Bay. He works in my Washington, D.C. office, and he's one of my legislative aides. Our office is broken into kind of different categories. We have a legislative shop, and they work with me going through pieces of legislation, working with me to analyze it, review it, and come up with recommendations on how to vote for specific pieces of legislation. And they respond to constituent questions regarding specific piece of legislation. The second group is the administrative group, and they run the office, they manage my schedule and where I am on any given day. I really don't know often where I'm going to be on any given day until it shows up on my calendar someplace. And they manage that, and they manage our office budget and so on. Then we have a communications department that's responded to over 100,000 letters and emails since I've been elected to office. And so we have three people that do nothing but respond to the various forms of communication that you all send to me. We try to get back to you as quickly as we can, but with just the sheer ability and the speed in which you can just send an email off to your member of Congress, it does take us some time to respond, because sometimes you ask questions that, well, I don't know the answer to the question. Sometimes you ask questions about bills and pieces of legislation that I've not even seen yet. And they help work through all that communication standpoint. And then we have my constituent services department. They work primarily here in Appleton and Green Bay, and they deal with questions that you might have. A Medicare bill didn't get paid. I'm a veteran, but I didn't get my medals. My Social Security check didn't come in on time. I've got a relative who's in India. I'd like them to come and visit me, but they can't get a visa. Those types of things. And they work together in that. And so we've got a pretty robust platform and the things that we do. And we try to do it to the best of our ability. Sometimes we're really, really good at it. And sometimes we're not as good at it as we should be. But I wanted you to meet Kyle. Over here to my right, your left, is Christy Pavla. Christy's also from Wisconsin. She's a legislative aide and works with Kyle in our legislative department. To Christy's immediate left is Cooper Smith. Cooper's here in Green Bay, and he's one of our office interns. And so we have a number of college-age students that often want to get some experience in a political office, and they come and work for us. They answer the phone, they respond to mail and the like. Immediately to Cooper's left is Jackie Trudell. Jackie is our Senior Constituent Services Director in Appleton, and so she handles pretty much that entire department. I'm going to introduce you to Joe in just a second. And then sitting at the table up here in front is my District Chief of Staff. His name is Rick Sense. So he runs our district offices both here in Green Bay as well in Appleton. Then there's a good-looking young man off to my right and your left. His name is Joe Scarfo. I'm just going to read a little bit about Joe because Joe and I met a few weeks ago. But Joe Scarfo is a junior at John Dewey Academy of Learning, which is the Green Bay Area Public School District's first charter school. Featuring a project-based curriculum that is highly personalized, Joe has completed numerous projects this year that have helped him develop an even greater interest in politics, history, and economics. Joe has worked on projects that focus on capitalism, marketing, Freakonomics, and the Alamo, among others. Joe is also the president of the John Dewey Student Council. Joe asked if he could shadow me today. And so we've got a high school student with us this morning. I think it's perfect that we've got a high school student here with all the AARP members, so we have pretty much the full range from age. And Joe's going to be spending the entire day with me. We're going to be heading over to Lambeau Field to do a financial literacy thing with one of the Green Bay high schools after this, and then up to Sturgeon Bay to speak at one of the high schools there. And so it'll be a busy day, and he'll get a first-hand look. You've each been handed a... Yeah, greet everybody. Thank you. We passed out a survey, and basically this is going to be the format of the types of things I'll be talking about this morning. So each of you have one at your table. And if you could take just a few minutes and to the best of your ability, you're not going to turn these in, I'm not going to see them, we don't get them back, they're really for you. But to the best of your ability, try to answer all the questions prior to me going through them on the slide presentation and just see what your own economic literacy is like. What is it that you've heard and what is it that you believe about the economic circumstance that the country faces? Probably the biggest thing and the most dismaying thing for me, having never served in public office before, was going to Washington, D.C. and finding out how little truth-telling there is. And everyone laughs. You get partial aspects of the truth. But when you don't get all the truth, and you don't see the whole thing in its context, you often really get a misperception of things. You know, we have perceptions of things. Sometimes they're based on reality, and then we also have misperceptions of things that are not based on reality. Sometimes it's deliberately deceitful, that you often see in political campaigns, but other times it's deceitful because there's a political agenda behind it. And my biggest frustration is the fact that so few Americans actually get the whole truth about what's going on. There's reasons for that, quite frankly. Most newspaper articles are limited to 500 or 600 words. And even if I write an op-ed, it's limited to 600 words. There's only so much you can cover. If television puts something up on TV, it's typically for about a minute and a half. And about half of the time, the announcer's talking. So you get really about 35 to 40 seconds of trying to answer very complex and difficult issues. And so you don't really get all the truth. This is the reason that you see the slide running behind me. I do this at my town halls so that people can actually begin to see what we're up against. Because we together, all of us, you and I, I'm a citizen just like you and I are up against this. And this is what Andrew Mullen, former Chief of Staff for the U.S. military, Admiral Mullen, said is the #1 national security threat that we face. It's not China, it's not Afghanistan or Iraq. Our #1 national security threat, according to our military leaders, is this. And what you're seeing here is the national debt clock, and it's running. Now, that debt clock will come to a stop at $16.2 trillion because that's where the debt limit is now established at. So we're going to get to that national debt limit at some point this year. Now, the president wanted the debt limit to be after the election. Based on current spending, it will probably happen sometime in August. And so we don't know when we're going to get to $16.2 trillion in debt. And I want you to know, at the last time I had to vote to raise the debt limit, it was probably the most controversial thing that I've done. And it was the most difficult vote I've taken. Because you all are conflicted. And if you are conflicted, it's logical that your member of Congress is conflicted. Because when this thing works right, when the system is working correctly, to the degree that we can, we take our cues as members of Congress from our districts. And a lot of you have asked, and many people talk about it to me privately, they say, why is it so partisan?